You're listening to the Old-Time Gospel Half Hour, brought to you by the School of Biblical and Theological Studies. The Old-Time Gospel Half Hour is a weekly program featuring old-fashioned Southern gospel singing and good old-fashioned camp meeting style preaching. And now, here is your host for the next half hour, Dr. Ed DeVries.
I had hoped to get back to preaching through the Ephesians series this Sunday in church there, and it just didn't happen. We had another missionary that had come through, and a lot of missionaries are choosing to take their furlough time at this time of year so that they can be home with their relatives at the holidays, and I understand that, and they're coming through, and I have a hard time saying no to them. It totally throws off our calendar, if you will, and our schedule and our plans if we had not previously scheduled them, but you know, they come or they call at the last minute, and I just can't say no to them. I mean, they're out there in, different places around the world laboring and preaching the gospel, and I know they need the support, and I know they need to be able to share their ministry with people here in the United States when they're here in the country, and so I want to give them that opportunity to share their work with our people to become familiar with their work. Hopefully, maybe it'll create some kind of a burden within some of our people to either become missionaries or at the very least to increase what they're doing to support missionary efforts around the world. And so when the missionaries come, I just always say yes to them as a general rule. That's just what I do. And so once again, our preaching schedule got thrown way off. I've thought about sharing some of these missionary messages with you here on the radio show, and at some point I may do that, but long story short, we didn't get back to Ephesians. We did not get to finish Ephesians chapter 1 this last Sunday. So this week on the radio broadcast, I'm not going to be finishing Ephesians chapter 1. But I will be sharing with you a message, or at least a clip of a message, about 8 minutes of a message, that my boyhood pastor, Dr. Jack Hiles, the late Dr. Jack Hiles from 1959 until his death in 2001, pastored the First Baptist Church of Hammond, Indiana, which for many of those years was considered to be the largest church in the world, the largest Sunday school in the world. I mean, we would bring in sometimes 20,000 plus people on church buses every Sunday. It was a sight to behold, bringing in all of these bus kids from Chicago and Northwest Indiana, and it was just something to see. In fact, in the beginning of my bus ministry, I was a bus pastor, and I would make the rounds, and I would visit several hundred people every week. And I would bring in anywhere from, depending on the time of year and the resources that I had available to me, I would bring anywhere from 80 folks to about 300 folks to church on Sunday on church buses. Every week there was at least one bus made available to me. There were certain times of the year when the funds were there, and I would have 3 and 4 buses at my disposal to reach just this one small neighborhood in Chicago. Of course, there was a housing project in that neighborhood, and those high-rise housing projects in those poor areas of Chicago, of course, a greater concentration of people than you would have in a suburban neighborhood. But still, it was a tremendous ministry, and it was a great training ground, if you will, for the ministry that God would call me into later. It was kind of a microcosm, if you will, of the pastorate that I was able to engage in while I was in high school, while I was in Bible college, to train for the ministry that God would give me in later years. But anyways, Dr. Hiles preached a message back when I was in college that just struck me. And I'm going to share with you just a small portion of it. And this one small portion of it has probably inspired my thinking so that I can think of at least a couple of dozen sermons that I've preached over the last 30 years that have come from the thoughts that the Holy Spirit has placed in my mind listening to this message. And it's a message that I've listened to over and over and over again throughout the years. And again, this is about a 40-minute message. It wouldn't fit on the program. But I took the most profound 8 minutes of it, and I'm putting it into this broadcast for you. And so I pray that it will challenge your thinking. as Brother Hiles preaches on Christ pursuing the 90 and 9. But before we have this message clip from Brother Hiles, we're going to have the camp meeting singers sing. And normally we get more lively, more excitable music from the camp meeting singers. But here they're slowing it down just a little bit, and they're singing on the 90 and 9.
There were 90 and 9 that safely lay in the shelter of the fold, but one was out on the hills away, far off from the gates of gold, away on the mountains wide and bare, away from the tender shepherd's care, away from the tender shepherd's
Lord, thou hast healed thy 90 and 9. Are they not enough for thee? But the shepherd made answer, this sheep of mine has wandered far from me, and although the hills may be rough and steep, I go to the desert to find my sheep. I go to the desert to find my sheep.
But none of the ransom ever knew how deep were the waters crossed, nor how dark was the night that the Lord passed through ere he found his sheep that was lost.
Out in the desert, he heard his cry, sick and helpless and ready to die. Sick and helpless and ready to die.
through the mountains thundering, and up from the rocky sea, there arose a glad cry to the gates of heaven. Rejoice, I have found my sheep. And the angels echo around the throne. Rejoice, for the Lord brings back his own. Rejoice, 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 for the Lord brings back his
I'm simply saying that somehow or other we've not learned to realize or to sympathize or to empathize or have compassion on the people who hurt because they're sinners, as we do on the people that hurt because they're saints. A wreck is on the highway. A drunk driver hits a car, crosses the center lane, hits a car head on. The paramedics come. Over here's the car of the drunk driver who broke the law. Over here's the car of the innocent party. Over here's a drunk driver who's may be at the point of death. Over here's the innocent party who may be at the point of death. The paramedics come. They don't check whose fault it is. They don't walk up and say, would you tell me, were you in your lane? How fast were you driving? And were you in your lane? How fast were you driving? And would you please fill out this little slip, this little paper, and draw the on the road here exactly as you saw the accident. We want to know whom we're going to try to revive. We've got to choose which one we're going to try to help. Because you see, we're not as concerned, they say, about helping the drunk who's near death as we are helping the innocent one who's near death. Nothing like that is done. They get busy on the innocent, they get busy on the guilty. Because the guilty hurting as much as the innocent. His innocent wife at home is just hurts as much as the wife of the innocent party hurts. His children suffer as much as the children of the innocent party suffer. And the paramedics will come. And they'll give the same attention to the guilty one as to the innocent one. And they'll use the same oxygen. And they'll use the same equipment. They'll put them in the same type of an ambulance. They'll rush them to the same emergency ward. And at the emergency ward, the nurses don't rush out to the ambulance and say which one was guilty. We'll let him die. Let the innocent one live. The same attention is given to the guilty that's given to the innocent. I wish Christians were that way. A gun battle takes place. A criminal and a police officer. That criminal is shot in the gun battle, and so is the police officer. They both are critically wounded. The paramedics come. They give the same attention to that criminal that they give to that police officer. Why? It's not their job to help the innocent wounded. It's their job to help the wounded. Sometimes they'll put a man in a hospital room, have an armed guard at his door, and have doctors on the inside trying to save his life. You know why? Because the medical profession is not the judicial profession. You'll never hear a better statement than that. The medical profession is not the judicial profession. The medical profession is given to the healing of bodies, all bodies. Self-inflicted wounds as well as others' inflicted wounds. I wish Christians were like that. Let me remind you of something. Let me remind you that the lost sheep chose to go astray. The lost sheep said, I don't want to be around the shepherd. The lost sheep said, I don't want to be in the fold. And the lost sheep of Luke chapter 15 chose to go astray. And the shepherd, realizing that that lost sheep chose to go astray, nevertheless goes to look for that lost sheep. Just like he had looked for a sheep that just didn't choose to go astray, but was stolen. If somebody had stolen that sheep, the shepherd would have gone to seek the lost sheep. But here's a lost sheep that chose to go astray. He decided to leave the fold. He decided to leave the shepherd and chose to go astray. But my Bible says the shepherd, we sang, there were 99 that safely lay in the shelter of the fold. But that's not true. There weren't 99 that safely lay in the shelter of the fold. There were 99 that needed the shepherd. But the shepherd left those 99, went out to get the one. And the one chose to leave. And he went out and he sought until he found him. I like that. He sought until he found him. I like a guy that keeps on doing what he's supposed to do until he does what he's supposed to do. I like a guy that goes to college and seeks until he finds a degree. I like a fellow starts a job and finishes the job. He sought him until he found him. And when he found the lost sheep, he said, now I'm going to put a rope here and pull that rope, and you hold on to that rope with your mouth. If you can hold on to that rope and hold out faithfully to get back to the fold, then you'll be back in the fold. No, sir, he didn't. No, sir. No, sir. He put the lost sheep on his shoulder. And on his own shoulder, he carried the lost sheep back to the fold. That shepherd is our wonderful shepherd, the Lord Jesus Christ. The great shepherd, the good shepherd, the chief shepherd. Every time one of his own leaves, he goes looking for him. And you'll let him, he'll put you on his shoulder. He won't say, hold out faithful to the end. He'll say, I'll hold you faithful to the end. He puts you on his shoulder. Let me remind you that the lost sheep decided to go astray.
Attend Bible College for free. Visit www.bibleschool.edu to find out how. Have you ever wanted to attend Bible college, but you couldn't leave your home? Or maybe you thought that the cost might be too high. Not anymore. The School of Biblical and Theological Studies is offering you the opportunity to enroll in an online class absolutely free. Enrolling in the free classes in no way obligates you to continue, and it will not obligate you in any way to ever have to pay a dime. Visit www.bibleschool.edu and start studying God's Word for free. That's www.bibleschool.edu.
I hope that little clip of Brother Heil's preaching was thought-provoking and it was a blessing to you. I realize it's a very short clip, but powerful, powerful stuff. We are going to have some time left here on today's broadcast. And so I'm going to have the camp meeting singers come back here in a minute, and they are going to sing The Love of God, a great old hymn that has always been a blessing to me through the years whenever I've heard it. Before that happens, I would like to encourage you as we're getting near the Christmas season. Here, Christmas today, this broadcast is actually going on the air for the first time on December 14th. I realize you may not be listening to it on the 14th. You may be listening to it after the 14th. But we're headed into the Christmas season, the Christmas period. And we're thinking about Christmas gifts. And if the Lord would lay it on your heart to give a gift to the Old-Time Gospel Half-Hour Radio Show, go to our website, www.bibleschool.edu. And when you're there, click on the donation tab. And to just send a gift and just put a little note on it that it's for the Old-Time Gospel Radio Show. And we'll know that you're helping us to get these messages out around the world. And we thank you for doing that. I also want to have you consider possibly giving a Christmas gift to a Cuban pastor. There are 33 Cuban pastors that I'm going to be having special meetings with when I'm in Havana in March of 2019, and I realize that you'll be giving a Christmas gift that the Cuban pastor will not be able to open until March, and that's unfortunate, but the reality is that Cuba is one of those countries, and I know those of you listening around the world, you don't think of it in these terms, but I'm in the United States, and there's been a trade embargo between the United States and Cuba since 1959, and so Cuba is not a country that I can just mail things to the Cuban pastors. There's a process involved for me to be able to bring them things. I can do it. It's just there's a process involved. And so Cuba's not necessarily an easy country to transaction with, but yet we're able to do it. And so in March, I'll be able to bring these Christmas presents to the Cuban pastors. And what we would like for these Christmas presents to be iPads and iPhones that the Cuban pastors can use in their ministry, either to study our courses online. 3G internet is now available in Cuba. It just became available. They have high-speed internet for the first time. They had really slow dial-up before that. And also the iPhones will enable them to do some things in their ministry, to make their visits and so forth. It would just help them as pastors. And so that's what we want to do. The technology is available, but the actual phones and the tablets and things that the pastors need to utilize it, most of them don't have it and can't afford it. And so if you could consider giving a gift to a Cuban pastor, a Christmas present to a Cuban pastor, that would just be great. Email me, president@bibleschool.edu. Ask me, say, hey, Dr. Ed, how can I give a gift to a Cuban pastor for you to take with you when you go to Cuba in March? I'd be happy to tell you how to do that. Also, we're still offering the free Bible course. I hope you'll take advantage of that at www.bibleschool.edu. You can click the contact form, or once again, use my direct email, president@bibleschool.edu. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know who you are, how you're listening to the Old-Time Gospel half-hour radio show, and it would just be a blessing for me to know who you are and to be able to pray for you by name and by specific need. So please share that with me and reach out accordingly.
Greater far than tongue
sign the other day that said the end is near. And the morning headlines say that troubled times are here. The things this world keeps telling me try to fill my heart with dread. But I'm listening to another voice, and this is what it says. It's not just about over, it's just about to begin. We'll just be getting started singing a song that'll never end. 1,000,000 years of praise and then we'll start all over again. It's not just about over, it's just about to begin. Now I've even seen some saints of God with their heads bowed low, still talking about the good old days and times of long ago. But church, our best days are ahead. Here's some news from the other side. Lift up your head, O child of God, redemption draweth nigh. It's not just about over, it's just about to begin. We'll just be getting started singing a song that'll never end. 1,000,000 years of praise and then we'll start all over again. It's not just about over, it's just about to begin. Well, it's not just about over, it's just about to begin. We'll just be getting started singing a song that'll never end. 1,000,000 years of praise and then we'll start all over again. It's not just about over, it's just about to begin. 1,000,000 years of praise and then we'll start all over again. It's not just about over, it's just about to begin. It's just about to begin. Well, it's not just about over, it's just about to begin. We'll just be getting started singing a song that'll never end. 1,000,000 years of praise and then we'll start all over again. It's not just about over, it's just about to begin. 1,000,000 years of praise and then we'll start all over again. It's not just about over, it's just about to begin.
The School of Biblical and Theological Studies provides these broadcasts free of charge to missionaries and radio stations all over the world. Your gift, payable to SBTS, helps us to keep these broadcasts going out to the gospel-hungry souls. Write to us at Old-Tyme Gospel Half Hour, P.O. Box 618, Lowell, Florida 32663. Or visit www.bibleschool.edu and click the radio button.